Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and its Ukrainian proxy allies. Now, we are continuing to see the envelopment and Russian forces collapsing the defensive ring around the vital defensive outpost of Volodar. The Russians, as I've talked about in the video yesterday, have entered the town and are conducting operations actually inside of the town. The ability for the Ukrainians to reinforce Volodar outside of a major counterattack is something that is not going to occur. Now, why are not the Ukrainians, why do they not have the ability to launch a counterattack? Well, one of the big reasons is many of the best combat units that could have been used as fire brigades to counterattack and assist with Russian breakthroughs are currently engaged in the Kursk Oblast. They are essentially these combat brigades, and right now there are approximately 7 full-strength Ukrainian brigades committed to the Kursk Oblast, with probably another 8 brigades or elements of 8 brigades assisting those units as well. So you essentially have, between territorial defense forces, National Guard units, the actual ground forces of the Ukraine, artillery brigades, special operations regiments, you have about 16 regiments or brigades of the Ukrainian military committed to this operation. Yeah. And it really serves no purpose. It is not going to have the ability to move forward. In fact, the Russians are on the offensive on the western portion of the salient and are continuing to close this ring of fire around these Ukrainian forces. In fact, there are some reports that the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian ground forces, certain elements have even discussed the possibility of a coup d'etat to remove the current political leadership inside of Kiev. That's how unhappy these ground force soldiers are. Now, how far up the chain of command does that go? Or is this company-sized and battalion-sized elements, colonels, majors, captains in the Ukrainian army that just are very upset about what is happening? Again, a strategic fiasco, if there ever was one. The Kursk incursion is that. Because again, these units of the Ukrainian military could have come to the aid of the units in Volodar. They could have been used to rotate the Ukrainian brigade that is assigned to Volodar. They didn't do that. Now, all along the line of contact, we are seeing these envelopment operations ongoing by the Russian military. It's just not Volodar. As you move up the line of contact, you can see what the Russians are doing here, just to the southeast of Prokrovsk. The Russians are enveloping Ukrainian units here. And again, this is happening all along the line of contact, where these Ukrainian strong points are being encircled and then destroyed by Russian glide munitions, and then overrun by Russian infantry and armor. And it's happening everywhere along the front line. And the Ukrainians, again, those fire brigades that were designed to plug these these operations by the Russians don't exist. They're operating up towards Kursk. So just an incredibly strategic blunder by either the Ukrainian political leadership that really doesn't understand military operations and needed to do something to try and grab the attention of the West. Say, hey, look, we invaded the Russian Federation. Look what we did. Now give us more money. I mean, that's exactly what they tried to do. And you just go up the line of contact here, for instance. There are multiple Ukrainian brigades. I believe there's 2 in this area that are being cut off, and in all probability will eventually be destroyed by the Russian military. Now, when this happens, and I've talked about this before, as we continue to see these envelopment operations and then the Russians destroying these Ukrainian units in this very methodical manner, at a certain point, the Ukrainian military is simply going to break. And when that happens, you are going to see some incredibly rapid advances by the Russian military. But right now, the Russians are completely okay with these envelop and destroy operations that are ongoing, all along the line of contact. And then as long as this absolutely ridiculous operation continues to take place in Kursk, it's going to continue. It just is. I don't know what the military goal, other than drawing media attention for the Kursk incursion, was. We just don't really know. But a lot was committed to that operation, maybe hoping that the Ukrainian army would make its way to the actual city of Kursk and threaten some larger Russian towns and or major highways or railways. Hasn't happened. Is it going to happen? And as we speak right now, again, Volodar is on the verge of collapse with Russian forces moving into that city. We will then see, in all probability, a very, like I just talked about, a very rapid advance by Russian forces towards Kharkov, this area here. And all of this area is going to be under the control of the Russians, probably sooner rather than later, with what's happening in Volodar. There are not a lot of Ukrainian units that run from Volodar north towards Pokrovsk that are high-grade combat units. Again, incredibly tenuous situation for the Ukrainian military. Now you got Volodymyr Zelensky in the United States, making his way around the world, begging for money, begging for military support. He supposedly has this military plan. Now, this military plan apparently involves the participation of NATO and the United States actually getting directly involved in this conflict. I think that is the plan. There's also been talk that the Ukrainians could be preparing some sort of operation in the direction of Belarus, possibly. But again, that's all speculation at this point. But again, as we watch this, for the Ukrainian supporters that have been watching this very robust defensive operation by the Ukrainians that have been going on for some time, at a certain point, this war of attrition that the Russians are executing is going to be successful, and we're starting to see the early stages of that right now with the fall of many of these frontline towns, these defensive outposts, as I call them, like Volodar, and then eventually the supply infrastructure cities such as Pokrovsk. When that falls, you're really going to see things really start to get out of hand for the Ukrainians, and the Kursk incursion has not done anything to help and or alleviate these breakthroughs and these envelopment operations that the Russians are continuing. And the Russian tempo continues. The size of the Russian military continues to expand and grow. The use of precision-guided munitions and glide bombs continue to grow as well. And that will be the strategy until the Ukrainian army is simply a broken military and a shadow of its former self. So there we have it. More to come. As always, thank you for joining us. Have a good day.